Hello everybody. So today's class, equipment, if you've got any equipment at home you can use, you may want to have a blanket and a couple of blocks or bricks or lunch boxes, perhaps a strap of some form because we will be bringing the arms behind the back, and if that's a little tricky to link, you can use a strap. And just bear in mind that anything we do today, if it's not comfortable, please don't persist with the posture. Come out and you make sure that you are respecting what your body's telling you to do or not do today. So we're going to start by lying down, and you may want to have something nice and soft under the head. Depends whether your chin tends to jut up towards the ceiling or if it's quite comfortable being neutral. So if it is jutting up, you might want to make a support a little bit higher. And then these other supports, the bricks or whatever you might have lying around, cushions, etc., is to help keep a little bit more protection around the hip joints. So we're going to be bringing the soles of the feet together, taking the knees out wide. And if you find that's a little bit too much strain here in the groin or the hip joints or maybe even the knee joints, then add the same support to both legs. So I've just got those slightly tucked in, and you can play around, how far or how close you want it so that you're getting a nice sensation of opening, but there shouldn't be any pain. And it might find that the longer you spend here, it may become more uncomfortable. So starting with the supports will help allay that, or you can always bring supports in at any time. Or feel free just to come out and have the knees bent and give everything a little bit of relax. So we call this Supta Padottanasana, so reclining bound angle pose. And with the arms, if we can rotate the shoulders down, rest with the palms facing upwards. Arms don't have to be next to the body, but also don't have them too high up. So comfortable position. And then see if you can just create or enjoy that sense of opening across our belly, across the pelvis and into the groin and the inner thighs. And while we stay in this position, it's a nice opportunity to bring that focus to the breath. So if you can, breathing in and out through the nose, and getting that sense of the belly expanding on that breath in and relaxing to the floor on the breath out. Just a couple more easy breaths, feeling that rise and fall in the belly. You may even want to add a little bit of Ujjayi breath if that's familiar to you. So it's that very gentle contraction here in the pit of the throat, and applying it on the exhalation. So it should feel like, or hear, the sound is very subtle, a little bit like listening to the distant ocean. And when we begin to add that Ujjayi breathing to our exhalation, it does help to extend the exhale that little bit more. And when we extend our exhalations, we affect our nervous system by calming it down. Now, depending on how your back feels, staying with all of that. But on your next breath in, if it's comfortable, perhaps trying to take the arms out overhead, which creates more opening in the front of the chest. And you might notice that your back begins to arch a little bit more. Just if we can relax into that position now. You might want to link the thumbs and cross the fingers over each other. But again, if it's not comfortable, have the arms wider. Notice if you're bringing too much tension into that back arch, and see if you can relax a little bit on that exhale to the floor. So we'll have one more breath in, and then when you're ready to begin that exhalation, we'll bring the arms back down, and then we'll take away those supports and slowly bring the feet back to the floor. Keep the knees bent. Perhaps take away that support from behind the back of the head, and then lengthening tailbone away from the rest of the spine, and we are going to take both knees in towards the chest. So we should feel that back nice and firm in contact with the floor. A little bit of tension in the belly as we press to the floor and then release. So we're just doing a little bit of contraction and letting go. So it's a very subtle little massage. So I'm just contracting through the belly and then softening. And then just a little circle around, hand on each knee, rolling the knees out wide, coming back in. And then let's change that direction. And then both feet to the floor, feet roughly about hip width, nice loose relaxed roll of the knees side to side. This is always just a nice movement for our backs. Now we're going to roll all the way over and come up to sit. And if you want to sit on something comfortable, again, you can employ a blanket, a towel if you've got it. And if it's comfortable, sitting cross-legged. If you're not keen on being cross-legged, you could, of course, come back to our bound ankle position, or perhaps even just have the feet a little wider with the knees bent, or legs out in front also works. Okay, so from here, let's do a little neck stretch. So we're going to extend the right hand towards the floor, lean the left ear to the left shoulder. So we should feel this opening across the outer neck there. And then we'll take that left hand over to the right ear. Now I'm not pulling very hard or strong. I'm just adding a little bit of extra extension to my neck, and at the same time I'm trying to release my shoulder to the floor. So I'm going to release the pressure of the top hand first, and then bring the head back to center. And then from here I'll keep that left hand down, just start to ease the right ear to the right shoulder, and then we'll take that right hand over to the left side, very gentle, just adding a little bit more, but drawing that left shoulder down to the ground. Feeling that nice stretch. I'm going to ease off with the right hand first, and then bring the head back to center, and then turning nice and slow, side to side. Take the gaze around as well. So once you've turned the head to where it's comfortable, take the eyes that little bit further. So we're also exercising our eye muscles. Then we'll come back again to the center. And now releasing the chin towards the floor. So we're going to open up behind the back of the neck, relax the shoulders down. And then take the gaze up, keep a little bit of space at the back of the neck as we open up the front of the throat here, so I'm not sort of dropping my head all the way back. Come back to center, and then interlock the hands behind the back of the head. So I've got my thumbs underneath the ridge of the skull there. As we breathe in, let's lift the chest, open up, elbows out wide, and then as we exhale, we're going to bring the elbows in, relax the head down, a little bit of rounding through the spine. So it's just opening up across the back of the neck and the upper back. Let's take a breath in, elbows out wide, lift the chest. So think of this as a little cat-cow roll in our seated position. Once more, breathing in, lifting up. Exhale, let's bring it back in, elbows coming towards each other. And now we're going to hold it here. Just let the weight of the hands, applying the weight of the hands to the back of the head, but I'm not forcing the head down. And then while we hold this position, can you now push the head back against the hands and resist? So you should feel all those neck muscles tensing up at the back. Now all I'm going to do is relax that pressure of the head against the hands and just let the weight of the hands guide me a little bit further. Let's breathe in, take the elbows wide, allow the head to come back up, and then release the hands. And we're going to shrug the shoulders. Nice movements up, down and back. Let's change direction. Now if your legs are getting tired at any time, feel free to change your position. Fabulous. Let's put the hands on the shoulders and then we'll take the elbows round. Perhaps you might be able to bring the elbows to touch at the front. Okay, let's go back the other way. So trying to get really good shoulder mobility here. Let that go. And then we'll take the right arm across the chest. I've got my left arm coming underneath. And then if you can turn the thumb down towards the floor on that right hand. So notice when you have the thumb up as opposed to thumb down, how does that change for you, that sense of stretch in this outer upper arm? Okay, let's change sides. So I've got the left arm across the body, right hand in front, and then if you want, test the position of the thumb facing up versus down. I prefer down, that's just me. I'm trying to keep my shoulder relaxed as well. I'm opening up the back of the shoulder and the deltoids here at the front. All right, let's release. Again, shrug that out. And then from here, we'll take both legs out in front, give them a little shake out, and we'll get stuck into the feet for a moment. So we're going to flex the toes back, whole foot back, kneecaps are drawing up. And then from here, can we keep the feet flexed back? Just curl the toes. And then we'll take the whole foot down with the toes curled. Now, if you're cramping, let it go. From here, we're going to keep the feet down, lift just the toes back, and then we're going to take everything back. So we'll do that again. Toes under, whole foot down, and then just the toes back, and then the whole foot back. So toes down, whole foot down, toes back, whole foot back, shake it out. And then we'll take the right leg, we're going to bend the knee, bring the foot over and across if you can. If that's not comfortable, you can keep it in front. But what we want to do is rotate into the ankle joint. So you can do it over here or you can do it in front. And then we'll circle around both directions. And then from here, let's hold the top of the foot. I'm trying to keep my ankles straight, so not sickling like that. And we want to get this sense of stretch across the top of the foot, heading up towards the shin. And then we'll change directions. So I'm going to switch hands, pull the toes back, and I'm stretching the sole of the foot now. So you could do it down here as well. Okay, let that go. Let's change sides. So your choice of where you place the foot, but we're manually going to rotate into the ankle joint. And we'll go the other way. And then to stretch the top of the foot, I keep the ankle straight and just drawing the foot down with the toes. So I want to feel it up through here. And then we'll go the other way. So I change hands and I'm stretching, pulling right back on the toes, looking to open up the sole of the foot there. Foot's flexed. And release. Take both legs back out. Okay, so now this is where you may want to have a strap within super easy reach. I was just going to do the arm position today rather than the full Gomukhasana or cow head pose legs. If you're really keen, feel free to go into that, but otherwise, kneeling up. So I've got some padding underneath my knees. Some of you might be more than happy to sit back into a hero pose, so buttocks down on the heels. But if you're like me and your knees don't like that, then feel free to join me in upright kneeling position instead. Or for those who know it and want to do it, you can do the full cow head legs as well. And what we're going to do is right arm first. So we're going to place the strap in the right hand and extend that arm up towards the ceiling. So we bend at the elbow. I have my fingers coming down the middle of the spine there. And I'm going to use my left hand to encourage that elbow up and towards the ceiling. At the same time, it's really easy to arch into your back, especially if you're upright kneeling. So can you gently guide your floating ribs back into the body so that we're not overarching into the spine? Now, when you feel that's warmed up, we're going to take that left hand around behind the back of the body, and either you'll be lucky enough to link the hands, but if not, just grab your strap and you walk your hands down that strap or up that strap until you've gone as far as you comfortably can hold. Still try and keep this top elbow up. And we want to watch that we're not letting that top arm crowd the head forward. So I want to keep my chin parallel to the floor, the throat nice and open. Can I breathe into my chest? Expand my ribs. Again, check with the arching into the spine. Are you tending to jump forwards with the hips? So this is really good for tight shoulders. And you'll probably notice when we go to the other side, there might be a big difference in the sides. So depending on whether we're right or left-handed and how we use our body throughout the day, it creates imbalances in our right and left sides. Okay, now we're going to ease back out. So we let go of the bottom hand. We're going to bring that right arm down, give it a little bit of a shrug, and then we'll change sides. So if you like the strap or need it, let's take it in the left hand. We're going to take that left arm up, bend at the elbow, hands down the spine. Then we'll bring the right arm across and just encourage this opening up through our triceps. Nice tall left side of the body as well. And then check in if you are overarching into your back. So try and relax the floating ribs back in towards the spine. Now once you feel that this is warmed up enough, we'll bring that right arm around and then see if we can either link the hands. If not, we just grab and that strap, walk the hands up the strap as far as you comfortably can. And then we're going to hold. And is this side different to your first side? Now, when I first started doing yoga, I have had a huge difference. I could easily do my right side and I couldn't do my left side link at all. And it took me a good 8 years before I managed to link my left side. But even now I find if I don't do this stretch often enough, my left side tends to get away from me. So if I'm teaching this posture, 10 times a week in my classes, by the end of the week I've got myself back to balance, but that's a lot of practice to get that balance back. So if you do have a difference in the sides, it's good to spend maybe a little bit more time on that side that's tighter to see if we can try and bring some balance back to our bodies. All right, we're going to let that go, shrug it out. Of course, the other thing you could do is think about how you're using the body in everyday life. So if you've got a tendency to, mainly for women, to wear a handbag on one shoulder, that's going to affect your whole body. So maybe try swapping the handbag to the other shoulder occasionally. If you're always holding a child on one side of the body, again, that's going to set up a lot of imbalances. So we try to think about how we move our body in everyday life to keep that balance in the right and left sides. Okay, so again, nice little shrug out. We'll take the arms for a bigger roll. and the other way. And then from here, we're going to come down to hands and knees. If you like, you could keep that bit of padding underneath the knees or move it out of the way. And what we'll be working towards is a little bit of a flow through. So we're starting from child pose. We're going to have the toes touching, knees are hip width apart, and then either you could have the hands extended forwards, or you can support the head, or you could rest the head on the floor. So any of those positions that are going to work to you to start with. And of course, ideally, if you can rest your buttocks back on your heels, awesome. But unfortunately, I can't. So don't copy me. All right, let's come back up and we'll come into our Majrasana, our cat pose. So from our hands and knee position, we want to keep these elbows just a little bit soft, bending slightly outwards. And then we'll breathe in, lift the sit bones, little dip through the back, move the chest forwards, gaze forwards. On the exhale, we're going to release the tailbone down, draw the navel in, round out through those shoulders, relax the head. So that's our little cat-cow roll. We'll do just one more of those, keeping the elbows nice and soft as we move through. A nice big exhale, really arching, rounding out into that back. And then we'll come back to our neutral position. So that's our second position of our little flow. The third one is a movement through. Now, if you've got problems with your shoulders and maybe wrists, you might prefer to come from your cat pose and we do a little dip forwards with the head, the chest, and then we're going to come down, but even that might not be too comfortable. So your other choice is to simply come forwards onto your forearms, come down that way. That's going to be kinder on your shoulders and your wrists. But for those who've got none of those issues going on, your choice could be coming from our cat to a child and then taking the gaze forwards, chest chin along the floor and scooting through. So elbows are kept in nice and tight as we do that and they stay off the floor. So that's our transitional movement to end up in either a Sphinx position or a gentle cobra. So notice I can take my hands off the floor and I can still hold this position. I'm not cranking all the way up. And then we'll move from this position. So if you've got your Sphinx, you'll have to slide the hands back and we'll be coming back into our extended child with the arms. Okay, so I'm going to do this a couple of times. And remember, you can choose how to do that little transition to get to the floor. So let's breathe in. As we exhale, either taking hips towards the heels or doing that half little lower. We're going to breathe in, chest chin along the floor. Exhale, either Sphinx or holding it in our little cobra. Try not to over-clench the buttocks. From here, we breathe in. As we exhale, let's move back to our child pose. Inhale up to cat. And then exhale a little lower down from here if you can, sliding through. Inhale into cobra. Shoulders relaxed. You maybe can come up a little bit higher now if it's comfortable. Release back down. We'll slide the hands down. We're going to breathe in here. Exhale, hips towards the heels, into our child. Inhale into our cat. Exhale, lower through to the floor any way you can. Inhale, cobra. Exhale, let's release and have a little rest. So you might want to roll out the wrist just to release any pressure. So that's one of those little flow through movements that you can use in your Sun Salute series. But it's a nice way just to add a bit of upper body strength and and get that movement happening through our shoulders. Okay, so we'll come back to our Cobra Pose later in the class. From here, let's come back to our cat position. And we're going to just do a little bit of a swing side to side, so turning and looking down to the back foot. Nice little side stretch. And then we'll come back to our center. And then from here, let's take the right foot out to the side so it's off the mat. And we're going to move into a squat, so we'll take the left foot out to the side. So to give you a charming front on view, I've got my feet out 45, and we're just going to do a nice little roll side to side. Starting to ease and straighten into the opposite leg as we bend the other one. So hopefully you're noticing a little inner thigh opening. It's just an easy roll. Okay, let's come back to our center, and we're going to walk the feet, heels, toes, till they're about hip width apart. Knees are soft, and we'll be coming up via Padottanasana, our chair pose. So from here, place the hands above the knees, roll the shoulders back, sit down with the buttocks, weight through the heels. So head and heart now higher than hips. And then reach the arms behind. Keep the legs nice and strong. Keep those knees bent. Perhaps take the arms forwards, or you can keep them at the heart center. A little hold. Just trying to build some warmth in the body. All right, we can release the arms as we straighten through the legs. Loosen up. We'll bring the feet together. Hands on the outsides of the knees. Let's just go for a nice little roll with the knees. Let's go the other way. Brilliant. Let's come back up, and we'll move into a nice strong side stretch. So Uttanasana. You can either do this one with the hands interlocked together, or if you prefer, you can also keep the hands a little further apart. So if you don't like the interlock, what you could use is a spacer between the arms like this. And what we want to watch is when we go to the side that we don't let the bottom elbow get away from us. We want to try and keep the arms next to the ears. So either that position, palms between the bricks, or you can interlock, index finger pointing forwards. Feet again roughly hip width. And we're going to breathe in. Take the arms up. Shoulders relaxed. And I want to keep these arms next to my ears as much as possible. So next breath in, go for a little bit more extension. Press down through the feet. As we exhale, let's lean to the left side. So we're opening up the right. Just watching that we don't let that left arm get away from us. And also that we're not twisting. So lift the sternum, keep the chin up. So the throat's open. Keep stretching away through the fingertips. Little lean out with the hip now to that right to aid some more opening into the side body. And let's breathe in, come back to center. Now if the arms are tied, you can bring them down. Readjust the brick if you're using the brick. And let's go to our right side. So breathing in, lifting up, shoulders relaxed down. Next exhale, leaning over to the right. Watch this bottom right arm doesn't get away. So really extend through that right side. Press through the feet. If it's okay, let's go a little further. We start to allow the hip to lean more to that left. So even though I'm leaning, I'm still pressing down through my right foot, keeping that active. Okay, let's come back to center. Release the arms. Again, give them a nice little shrug. Whatever feels good. If you use the block, put the block back on the ground. And now we'll go a bit more into our formal forward bend. So if your hamstrings speak to you a lot when we come forwards, maybe have 1 or 2 bricks for your hands. So you're just bringing the floor up a little bit high. You don't want to overstrain your lower back with these forward bends. So if we can take the feet out nice and wide, and I've got my feet parallel, so I'm looking at the edge of my mat and just checking the outer edges of my feet line up with those edges. We want to fold here from the hip creases. So up here's my waist, this is the top of my pelvic rim, and then down here is the hip creases. This is where I want to fold from. So we're coming halfway. We're going to inhale, think a lengthening for the front spine, and then as we exhale and fold forwards from these hip creases, I'm going to slide my hands now down towards my shins, trying to relax the shoulders back, and then you can either place your hands on the supports or you might be able to reach the floor. Really depends on where your legs are at. And as we hold it here, think of even weight through the outer and inner edges of your feet, so we're not sort of rolling the ankles out or collapsing them in. And try not to grip with your toes. So I want to keep at least 2/3 of the weight back in my heels if I can. And as we spend a little bit more time, you might find that you can go a little bit lower, but just watch that you're not rounding into your back too much to do that. So it is the stretch through the back of the legs we're looking for. If you want to increase that sensation, imagine lifting your sit bones a little higher to the ceiling, and you'll feel that through the back of the legs. So this is Padottanasana, a nice wide-legged forward bend. And then from this position, we are going to walk our hands over to the left side first. So if you are a little bit higher up on your support, you can bring your support around, or you can walk the hands around towards your left foot. Maybe relax the head a little bit more towards that left leg. Maybe even bring the left arm behind the leg as you draw the body a little further forwards. Okay, we're going to come back to our center. Lift the head, lift the chest. So we're looking for length in the spine. And now let's continue over to our right side. And maybe it's different on this side. If you like, you could put the hand behind the calf and draw the head towards the shin if that's comfortable for you. Remember, we don't want to go to a point where we are gritting those teeth and sort of fighting the pose. So don't add extra tension. If there is a lot of tension there, especially in the face, back it off a little bit. Be patient. All right, let's come back to our center. We're going to give the legs a little break. So let's turn the heels in, soften the knees. We can bring our elbows up onto the thighs there. Just have a little chill out. If you want, you can do a little bit of side to side wiggling with that backside. And then we'll place the hands mid-thigh. We're going to come up a little bit higher now with the head and the heart. And we're going to drop the right shoulder so that we're twisting, we're turning, looking to the left. I'm still trying to keep my knees wide, so you should feel an extra stretch in your right inner thigh groin area as we get this twist. Let's come back to the middle, breathing in. As we exhale, drop the left shoulder, turn, look to the right, and we're trying to keep that left knee out to the side. Nice little rotation here. And then we'll come back to our middle. And we're going to inhale and come all the way up. So we'll walk the feet in and give those legs a little shake out, because that's a fairly strong stretch. Now, our next pose, nice warrior number 2, bog standard warrior 2. So we'll turn our right foot out, middle of the mat. Big step back with our left foot, feet roughly in line, whatever feels best, so that when you bend your right knee, it's comfortable bending in line with the middle toes. and you're not feeling any discomfort in your hip joint. So we're going to keep the right knee bent just over the heel or the ankle there, and then check that you've got a sense of your shoulders still being balanced over the hips, because there is a tendency to want to lean to that right side. So we want to bring the spine into the middle. From there we can breathe the arms out, shoulders relaxed. Now when we turn the gaze, again, don't be tempted to lean to the right. Keep the body as it is. We're going to look down the right middle finger, but don't forget about that extension through your left arm to keep us balanced. And we breathe. Warriors are strong, feeling stable, centered, and grounded. Can we hold for a few more breaths? Of course, if you need to come out, please do. We'll just sit in the pose. All right, release the hands, release the leg. And if you want to give the legs a little rest, you can walk them back in, shake them out. And then when you're ready, let's turn to our left side. So just check that you had a similar setup with your feet base that you had to the right. And that when you bend your left knee, that it's comfortable to point in line with the middle toes. Okay, back foot slightly turned in. And then from here, check in, is the pelvis, are the shoulders stacked over each other, or are we tending to lean a little bit to that left side? So once you've found that center, let's take the arms out and then check, are the arms the same height? Because again, there's a tendency to do all sorts of funny things when we don't look. And then we'll allow the gaze to go down our left middle finger, but I'm still stretching away through my right hand. And then we hold, we breathe. We're just trying to embody that sense of being strong and grounded. Warriors are confident, so we keep that chest nice and broad, chin up. If we have good posture, it gives us confidence. We're going to bring the arms back down and release out of the pose. So walking the feet back in, shaking it off, let it go. And now we're ready for Warrior 3, Padottanasana 3. So this requires more strength, confidence, willpower. A little bit of tapas energy is what we're looking for here, determination. So we did this one last week. Remember, you can always use a wall or a chair or a table to put your hands on if you want to make that balance a little bit more achievable and work on the strength instead. And if you don't want to, you want a bit more of a challenge, do it freestanding as well. So we're going to start by balancing on our right leg. We'll have our left leg behind, and with the toes pointing straight ahead, we want to have the chest, the hips also facing that direction. So today we're going to come into it with the arms already overhead. So let's take both arms up. If you're using a wall, you're going to keep the hands separate, but otherwise interlocking the palms. I cross the thumbs over, index fingers over. I'm relaxing my shoulder blades down my spine. So we're going to have a little bend in that right knee to get into the pose. And then once we're there, we're going to try and see if we can keep our right leg straight. So I'm fixing my gaze directly ahead. I'm going to breathe in, little lift through the front body. Then as I exhale, I start to transfer weight to right foot. Lift my left foot up. You could leave the toes just touching the floor and hold it here, or you can start to come forwards. As I keep lifting my left leg, that's what brings my body down. So I'm not collapsing my front body just to get closer to the floor. I'm lifting through my left leg the whole time. And I'm trying to breathe as I reach out through fingers and toes. This is strong. So we're using back strength, leg strength, lots of support through that grounded leg. And I'm going to soften my front knee and try not to fall out like that. We come back, release, and you should feel like that was a little bit of hard work, especially if you were not using any assistance to rest the hands on. Heart should be pumping a little bit. So, left side, left foot forwards. Make sure it's straight. Make sure we're all pointing in the same direction. Soften the front knee a little bit. Okay, let's take those arms overhead. Reach out through the fingertips, shoulders relaxed. Pick a gaze point. So, given I'm coming forwards, my gaze is going to be shifting towards the ground. So if you struggle with balance, maybe start to take that gaze a little bit lower rather than looking straight ahead. If you don't struggle with your balance so much, try using that slow shifting of your drishti point, that gaze point. Okay, transfer weight to left foot. Lift the right foot up. And then slowly keep lifting that right foot up. Now the gaze point has changed. I keep lifting, lifting, lifting. Reaching out. Nice and strong. Keep breathing. Finding that strength, that determination to hold the posture. And then soft knee to come back out. Release. And relax. I've got my feet a little wider now, knees are soft, and we're just going to go for a nice little swing. Let go of any tension that we might have built up in the back from that posture. That's also a good pose to do when you're cold because it's engaging so many muscles. It's a bit like our plank pose. All those nice strong poses will quickly warm us up if we're utilising all the muscles that we can to hold them. All right, Uttanasana, but a relaxed Uttanasana. So we've got the feet hip width, knees are soft, we're just going to fold forwards. You can either hold it here halfway for those who've got the blood pressure, back problems, etc. Or you could have fingertips to floor, or you could just hang with the arms. So again, releasing into the back, but we're getting a nice stretch through our glute muscles there, as well as the legs. Let's release the hands. And we're going to come back up, roll it out. So our next sequence, I thought we would just do a little round of sun salute, incorporating that little sequence that we did earlier in the class. And if you've got a preferred sun salute that you like to do and modified or whatever, please feel free to do that one instead, or you can join me in this variation of a sun salute. So we're going to start at the top of our mat. So we'll be stepping back behind us. So just check you're not going to land on anything on your mat. And we'll start with the hands at prayer position at the heart center. So let's take a breath in. And if it's comfortable, we'll take those arms overhead, lifting the chest. That's a little mini back bend. As we exhale, we're going to swan dive forwards. Now you can bend your knees as much as you like, so that eventually you can reach the floor. We're going to step the right leg back, so big step, and we're in a high lunge. Now if you prefer, you could put your back knee on the floor into a lower lunge. From this position, you have the choice, coming into a full plank, or a cat pose with knees on the floor, or a half plank. And we find that strength. You can come onto forearms if you prefer, not to be on your wrists. And then from here, we're going to put the knees down, hips towards the heels, blow through any way we can, and we come down onto the ground. So that's that little sequence we did earlier. You can relax the toes now. Breath in. As we exhale, coming into your Cobra Pose. So depending on how your back feels, You can stay low or you can come up higher. Relax the shoulders back, nice broad chest and collarbones. So I'm just enjoying this opening across the front of my abdomen and ribs. So I'm breathing here for a little bit, and then we're going to release. We'll come back down. Curl the toes under, place the hands under the shoulders. We're moving back into downward dog. So we're going to lift the hips up high. Exhale, back downward dog. You could also choose just to do a cat pose here instead for something a little gentler. Now, if you struggle to step the right foot up to the hands, you could put your left knee down first and then step forwards, or you can just do that big step up. You can either stay here in the low lunge or come into that high lunge. Now we will be stepping left foot up towards the top. So any way you can, big step up, knees are soft. We're going to come up into chair. So let's breathe in, arms behind, lift the head, lift the chest. Next breath in, coming all the way up. Palms will come together. Exhale back to the heart. So that's half a round. Let's do the other side. Breathing in. Exhale, swan dive forwards. Inhale, gaze forwards, left leg back, either high or low lunge, your choice. And then we come to plank pose or cat pose or half plank. Some of you might like to do a chaturanga here. Come through into a cobra or an up dog or a sphinx. Toes under, exhale back, downward dog or cat. Now we're doing a big step up with the left foot. Now you can have knee to the floor in a low lunge, high lunge. But we are going to step up to the top of the mat now. A little fold with the legs. Let's breathe in, arms forwards, chair, all the way up, palms together. Exhale to our heart. And release. So just the one sun salute. If you've got more time, you can always pause the video and crank out a few more if you wish. And make it a longer practice. Otherwise, I'm going to come down to the floor now and work a little bit more with our Cobra Pose. So let's come forwards, folding from the hips. If it's comfortable, you can do this with straight legs. Just be mindful of not rounding into your back too much. Otherwise, feel free to bend your knees. We need to get the hands to the floor, so you might have to do that anyway. And then from here, let's step it back to a downward dog. Walk it out. Make sure it's nice and long so we get that good extension through the spine. Head should be relaxed. And then we'll take both knees to the floor. And we're going to lower all the way down to lie on our stomachs. So if you've got sensitive hips, you may want to use a little bit of extra padding underneath the hips. I already have lots of padding, so I don't need that. But if you don't, those hip bones can be pretty uncomfortable on the floor. So do have something if you prefer that. Now we want to keep our feet hip width apart. I like to have my little toes also connecting as well as my big toes to the floor. So when I do that, you'll notice my heels turn out a little bit. That also encourages the inner thighs to feel like they're lifting towards the ceiling. So imagine the inner thighs are lifting to the ceiling, outer thighs are relaxing to the floor. And when we do that action, it's going to keep a little bit of broadness and space in our buttocks and our lower back. So if I let inner thighs roll down, notice how you squeeze the buttocks. So that's going to jam you back a little bit more than you probably need to. So see if you can get little toes down, inner thighs lifting. Now we'll come to the floor. And I've got my hands resting just underneath my shoulders, my elbows tucked into the ribs. Feet will stay on the ground. And I'm going to breathe in, lift the head, lift the chest, and then lift the arms. So elbows are in. So this is back strength. What have you done with the buttocks? Are they clenching? Can you ease them off a little bit? Now, if you really struggle with this lift, and a lot of people do, then you may want to keep some support with the hands, but doesn't mean you lift up higher, okay? So what we're going to be adding to this position is some squeezing into the side body. So if that's going to be too hard with both hands off the floor, keep your hands on the ground, and when we squeeze to one side, this elbow will come down, but my other elbow's off the floor. So it's a little bit more supported this way. So if your back isn't happy doing it unsupported, keep that support there. All right, we're going to do 5 times to one side, then we're going to come down, have a rest, we'll do 5 times to the other. So let's breathe in, lift the head, lift the chest, but keep the feet grounded, maybe hands on or off the floor. Exhale to the right. So I'm squeezing to the right, breathe back to center. Exhale to the right. Inhale to center, that's 2. And 3. We've got 2 more to go. So you should feel really good opening on that left side. This is our last one. We'll come back. You get to have a rest. So you can rest head on the hands. You can turn your head to the side, whatever's comfortable. And check that you are releasing, relaxing into your back, into your buttocks. So the rest is just as important as the strength in the pose. Okay, we're going to do our left side now. So choose your hand position, feet on the floor, inner thighs lifting. Inhale, lift the head, lift the chest, maybe take hands off the ground. Exhale to our left. Breathe into center. Exhale to left. Inhale to center. So I've got a few more to go. I've got 2 more. So I'm staying low. This is going to be our last one. We come back, we get to have another rest. And this time maybe big toes touch, heels away. Nice soft buttocks. Relax into that back. Breathing in and out through the nose. And then we'll come back to feet hip width. And hands just in front of the shoulders, elbows in. So depending on how your back's feeling after that work, if it's saying it's had enough, then perhaps just do a tiny little snake pose. So arms, legs, head off the floor, but not lifting up too high. If your back says, yep, it's good, we can do a little bit more, we'll come more into a full Bhujangasana, Cobra Pose. So again, we're going to keep the feet grounded. Let's breathe in, lift the head, chest, using back strength. And then we add our arm strength and lifting to where the body's comfortable to be. It helps to draw in those lower abdominal muscles to support that lower back. So if you are feeling a little bit in the lower back, make sure that you're using your frontal body muscles to support. Make sure the shoulders are down, collarbones are broad. So I don't be up here around my ears. Looking for lots of length right up through the crown of the head. Breathing into the belly. And then lowering all the way back down to the floor. And resting the head on the hands. This time we're going to take the hips for a nice little wiggle side to side, little rock. And then we'll come back to our center. So moving into child pose. Let's push up onto the knees. And then either resting buttocks towards the heels if you can, head on the floor, or I'm going to stack because I'm a little bit higher with my hips. If this feels okay, maybe you want to go a little deeper and take the knees out wider and sink a little bit more into our working child. So we're creating that space in our lower back after the back bends. Okay, walking the hands back in, knees back in, and let's come around to sit on our back sides. Now, if you have a sensitive coccyx, tailbone, you might want to pad up a little bit more on something really soft, because we are going to be leaning back and balancing. So if that is you, feel free to sit up on something, not a brick. That's not going to add any softness. I wouldn't sit on a bolster either, because the chances of falling off the back of it are not so good. So something a little bit lower. So all we're going to do, keep the knees bent and, hugging in towards those legs there. And if you can bring the feet together, knees together, awesome. If that feels a bit tricky, keep them a little bit wider if that works better for you. Now we're going to hold behind the back of the legs. Roll the shoulders back. Lift up really tall through the spine. And then see if we can lean back and take the feet off the floor. So I'm sitting just a little bit back behind the sit bones. And I'm trying to keep my spine nice and long. I'm just working on that balance point. Maybe take the shins up to face the ceiling. And then we'll come back down. See how that feels. Little rest. Now, if you do have any problems with your back or with your core area, or even, if you're menstruating, then keep the hands supporting behind the back of the legs, so you're not going to overstress the abdomen too much. So let's bring it back in, hold behind the knees, find that balance point, lift the shins. If it feels okay, then let go. If it doesn't, bring the support back in. And if you want, you could straighten the legs as well. This is Navasana, our boat pose. All right, let's come back down. And best bet is we're going to lie down on the floor. Rest. And we're going to be moving into some, just a little twist to finish off with. And I just want to make sure I'm not going to land my legs on anything in particular around me. So arms will be out shoulder height. I quite like to sort of tilt the hips before I go into a twist. So when I say sort of swivel the hips, that's what I mean. I take them off the floor and rotate, and then I take the legs to the side. So we're going to have the feet and knees together to start with in the middle. We'll press down through the feet, lift the buttocks up, swivel the hips. So I'm now... So I had a technical glitch with my sound. So where my sound broke off, this is where I'm starting back again. We're going to move into 3 different twists from here, swiveling the hips. So the first one, we'll have knees and feet together. We're going to press through the feet, lift the hips up, roll a little bit to that right side, arms to sides. Let's take both knees to the right. So you can see I've got my left foot stacked on top of my right. And I'm trying to keep my knees together, shoulders on the floor. So we'll breathe in, we'll come back to center, and we're going to shift the hips up and over onto the left a little bit more, and then roll both knees over to that left side. And notice where you're feeling this twist in the back, what feels a little bit more opened up. And then the next breath in, we'll release, we'll come back to our center. So now we're going to take the feet off the floor. This will be a little bit stronger, so if you need more support for your back, keep the feet on the ground. We're going to keep the knees together, stacked over the hips, shins facing the ceiling, and then we're going to do a little swivel with the hips. So I'm a little bit more on my right side now. Let's exhale, bring both knees to the right. And I'm trying to get my bottom right foot relaxed on the floor. If it's not comfortable up here, just bring the feet lower and observe. Now, where is the twist taking effect? What's opening up now? Now, if you want to come out with feet off the floor, again, that's a little bit stronger than keeping feet on the floor. We're going to breathe in back to our center. Swivel the hips to the right. And then exhale, let's take our knees to the left. I'm trying to keep my right shoulder relaxed on the ground. Nice easy breathing into the belly. Now this stretch could be plenty for you today, but if you want to try one more, we're going to come back to our center and we'll be pivoting the hips again, but this time legs straight. So I'm going to lift up, rotated everything a little bit to the left, and coming in with straight legs a lot stronger than bent knees, so don't do it if it doesn't feel good. I'm trying to bring my feet up towards my hands, but you can see my left shoulder's coming off the floor, so I'm also trying to relax that left shoulder down to the ground. And if you can't reach your feet, that's perfectly normal. You know, just wherever your legs manage to come to rest. But I haven't got tension in my belly. I'm still breathing there. Now, coming out with straight legs is a lot stronger than going in. So bend the knees if you prefer. We come back to the center. Pivot the feet, and then if you can, let's take those legs up and over towards the hands. So you might be down here, you might have to bend the knees, or you might be able to perhaps grab hold of the toes. It's a little stretch, and I'm trying to relax my right shoulder to the floor. So this is working a lot higher up my back now. Again, you want to make sure, can you breathe? So bend the knees to come out if you want to support your back more. So we're going to come all the way back out. Bend both knees. Let's just straighten the spine up on the ground there. Arms relaxed to sides. And then you might like to slide your right foot to the corner of the mat, and then your left foot to the corner of the mat. And feel what your body has just gone through. Does it feel better than when we started the class? Maybe your back is saying, oh, I need a little bit of a massage. But for the moment, we're just allowing everything to settle and sink. Simply observing what effects we've made to our bodies, to our mental state. And we're going to get ready for relaxation. So if your back is saying, oh, I need a little bit of a release, then, bend those knees up, knees to chest, and you can, give a little rock roll, whatever it's crying out for. And then set yourself up for relaxation. So if you like to put your legs up the wall, do that. Make sure you've got a blanket over you. Make sure that you will be warm enough. So I definitely always put an extra layer on. And if you like Shavasana, you can have the legs straight or the knees bent. I always like a bolster underneath my knees when I'm doing Shavasana. That corpse pose, and otherwise get yourself settled to the ground. We will be moving the body a little bit. I'd like to start off by just adding some extra tension into the muscle groups before we release that tension on the exhale. And we're going to start at the feet. So when you next breathe in, can you tense into the feet? Hold that tension for a moment. Scrunch up the toes, soles of the feet. And then when you're ready to exhale, relax that tension, release the feet, let it go. And then we'll do the same with the legs. So breathing in, tighten into the leg muscles, the calves, the knees, the thighs, and then hold that tension for a moment in both legs. And when it feels good to let go, breathe it out. Relax both legs. Moving into the buttocks, so breathing in and clench the buttocks. Also pull up the pelvic floor, clench the anus, hold that all nice and firm. And then let that go on the exhalation. So this time creating tension in the back. As you breathe in, slightly arch the back, squeeze the shoulder blades together. Hold that for a moment. And then releasing and relaxing the back to the floor on the exhale. So now working the front of the body. Take a nice deep breath in, expand into the ribs and also draw the belly to the spine. So press your lower back to the floor as we hold this tension in the front of the body. And exhaling, let that tension go. So now traveling down the arms, we're going to breathe in and tighten the arms, make a fist with the hands, maybe have the arms hovering just off the floor, feeling that tension. And when you're ready to exhale, relax the arms to the ground, soften into the fingers. Now traveling to the neck and the head and the face. So breathing in, tense the neck, press the back of the head on the floor, tighten the scalp, scrunch up the facial features, clench the jaw, squeeze the eyes, hold all that tension there. And then let it go, soften into your face, into your neck, into the head. And this time we're going to find every muscle in the body. So breathing in, tense your legs, your arms, your back, your front, your head. Hold it all strong. Hold the breath that little bit longer if you can. And then when you're ready to let it go, whole body relax, maybe sigh it out, and soften to the floor. So no more tension. Allow the breath to soften. So focusing your awareness to the top of the head. And imagine that there is a ball of white light centered around the top of the head. Think of breathing in and out through that energy center. Perhaps thinking of that ball of white light expanding on the breath in and a little contraction on the breath out. And then moving the awareness down to the eyebrow center. And again, picturing a ball of white light at the eyebrow center that is expanding and contracting with the breath. Now moving that awareness down to the throat center, at the pit of the throat, a ball of white light. And think of breathing in and out through that ball of energy. Each breath expanding, boosting that energy. Take the awareness to the heart center. A ball of white energy at the heart center. Expanding that space with the breath in. Release, relax on the breath out. Now taking awareness to the solar plexus, so it's just above the navel, around near the waist and expanding a ball of energy at that solar plexus. Imagine breathing through that center. And then letting it go, moving awareness lower down towards the pelvis, that lower pelvic region. We have a ball of energy of white light. Breathing into that center. Now moving the awareness to the base of the spine. The very base of the spine, another ball of energy that we breathe into and expand. And finally, of tension down to the feet. And think of a ball of energy at the base of the feet, breathing through that energy center, expanding that ball of white light. And now if you can picture all of those balls of light from the top of the head to the eyebrow center, the throat, heart, solar plexus, the pelvic region, base of the spine and the feet. And imagine that all those energy balls are beautiful beads on a necklace of light. Think of those lights connected through the whole body. And imagine the breath traveling through from the feet up to the head and moving from the head back down to the feet. Whole body is connected through the light of the breath. Expanding awareness now to the edges of the body, feeling the skin, feeling the air on the face, the clothing against the skin. And opening up that awareness of sounds that are around you in the room and outside the room. Inviting that breath in a little deeper to the lungs, And as you feel that cool air moving in, begin to add a little movement to the hands and the feet, to the arms and the legs. And starting to extend and stretch in any way that feels comfortable, that the body wants to move in. And then when it feels right, rolling over to the right hand side. And this week's quote is from Pema Chodron, who says, "Be kinder to yourself, and then let your kindness flood the world." So quite often we are our own worst critics. We're not kind to ourselves. So if we can, cut ourselves a little bit of slack and be kind, we can then expand and spread that kindness to other people. So let's bring the hands to the heart center. Namaste. Have an excellent rest of your week. Thank you.